I'm Dan Brisebois, and this is the Farmer Spreadsheet Academy. Today's Farmer Spreadsheet tip is how to make decisions using the if formula. So the question that we're going to be answering today with the if statement is how many seeds do we need? We have this little situation. Here's the starting context. This is part of a crop plan, and we're going to grow two different crops, arugula or lettuce. And these crops are either DS, which is direct seeded, or TP, which is transplanted. So for a direct seeded crop, we'll be growing 100 bed feet, planted at 5 rows a bed, and we'll be seeding about 30 seeds every row foot. Now, we'll need 15,000 seeds to direct seed this. So that's the 100 bed feet times 5 rows times 30 seeds a foot is 15,000 seeds. In the case of lettuce, which is transplanted, TP, so we're planting 100 bed feet at 3 rows a bed on a 1 foot spacing. Well, we don't need any seeds here. What we need is plants. So this is the next section. The amount of plants that we need is equal to 100 bed feet times 3 rows per bed divided by the spacing. So that's about 300 plants. If we divide it by the number of cells in our greenhouse trays, we'll get the number of trays we need. So we'll need 2.3 trays to be able to plant 100 bed feet in the field. We will also be seeding 2 seeds per cell to make sure at least 1 germinates. We'll thin out any extra plants that we get beyond the first. The number of seeds we need for a transplanted crop is the amount of cells per greenhouse tray times the number of trays times the seeds per cell. We need 600 seeds for this transplanted crop. We have 2 columns that indicate how many seeds we need. It would be nice to just have 1 column. We'll use a simple if formula to calculate the seeds in 1 column. The basic if formula is if, open parentheses, we ask a question, comma. If the answer to that question is true, this is where the answer is, comma. If the answer is false, then this is where the answer will be. And then we close parentheses afterwards. So here's an example. If C5, that's this cell here, is equal to DS, and we always use quotation marks when we're referring to text. So this would be equals C5, if C5 equals quotation mark DS quotation mark, means if C5 equals DS. Comma, if the answer is true, we want to go to A5. And if the answer is false, we want to go to L5. Close the parentheses. So we'll copy this formula by doing Control-C or Command-C, and then we'll write equals. We're going to paste our formula in, so that's Control-V or Command-V. Enter, and we get the answer 15,000, because C5 is equal to DS, so it looks for H5. Let's drag this down so that we can see the answer for the next row. In this question, it goes to the next row. If C6 is equal to DS, the answer is false, so we'll go look at L6, which is 600. So this formula worked. So this is a great first step. We still have these 2 extra columns in our spreadsheet that we're choosing from. It'd be nice to get rid of these columns and still get the right answer. To do that, we're going to add formulas within the formula. So if C5 equals DS, that's the same question. Instead of simply saying H5, let's put the formula of H5 in there. So which is D5 times E5 times G5. We're going to leave the L5 alone for the moment. We'll copy this, and then we'll do equals, and then paste the formula, enter, and the answer is 15,000. We can delete this row, and the answer will still be 15,000. Drag this down to get the answer in the next row. If we delete this column, we lose our answer because this was not a formula. This was just a reference to that cell. Let's add it back in, and it's 600 appears. So we can also replace the formula in the L5, and that's over here, which is this times this times this. So we'll copy it, equals, and then we'll paste, enter, and the answer is still 15,000 because C5 is DS. We can drag this down and the answer is 600 here, if we delete this column, the answer is still 600. We've been successful in this step. We can go one step further by adding an if formula in an if formula. So here we have our original if formula. If, open parentheses, ask a question, comma, this is the answer if it's true, comma, if the answer is false, let's ask another question. So if, open parentheses, question, comma, answer if true, comma, answer if false, close parentheses, close parentheses. So we have an if formula within an if formula. Here's what that looks like in our example. So if C5 equals DS, comma, and the answer is true, then we multiply these together. If the answer is false, let's ask another question. So if, open parentheses, C5 equals TP for transplant, then, comma, this is the answer if it's true, and comma, the answer if it's false is we're going to write a statement, make a choice, because it means you haven't entered something into column C. Close parentheses, close parentheses. Let's see what that looks like. So we'll copy this, equals, we'll paste it, enter. The answer is 15,000, and we'll drag this down, and the answer is 600. So in this equation, if we delete one of these answers, it asks us to make a choice. So I can put in DS. However, there's a challenge. What if we write direct seed instead of DS? The spreadsheet doesn't know that these are the same thing, direct seed or DS. So there's a problem here. And even another problem is, what if we write TP by accident? It winds up doing the math as if it was a transplanted crop and gives us an error message. So we're going to tweak our if statement to be based on what's going on in the spreadsheet rather than just column C where we choose transplanted or direct seeded. If, open parentheses, if it's a direct seeded crop, then the seeds per foot has to be higher than 0. So G5 greater than 0, comma, in this case, we multiply this together if it's true. If it's not true, then comma, if, we'll look at if, open parentheses, we'll look at F5 to see if the spacing is higher than 0, and there'll be a spacing if it's a transplanted crop, comma, this is the formula if it's true, comma, if it's false, we'll want it to say missing info. We'll copy this, we'll write equals, paste, enter, and we get the right answer. We drag this down, and we get the right answer. So we no longer need this column, and we still get the right answers. By using statements like this with formulas within formulas, we can have a more compact spreadsheet. Let's just test this formula to see if it's doing what we want. Let's say we don't want to transplant our lettuce. Instead, we want to direct seed it. So we delete that. It says we're missing info. Let's add a seeding rate. We'll add 25 seeds per foot, and it gives us the answer of 7,500. And let's say we wanted to plant our arugula, and we're going to do it on 5.5 foot spacing. We're going to delete the seeds per bed foot. It gives us an error message because we haven't entered the greenhouse stuff. So 128 seeds per cell. We need 7.8 trays, and we'll be seeding 2 seeds per cell, and that gives us 2,000 seeds. So this formula is doing what we want it to do. So let's use this formula now in a crop plan. Here's a simple crop plan sheet that's similar to what we've been working on. I've added a field week, so this is the week number that we're planning on planting in the field. And I've added greenhouse week. This is how long a transplanted stock crop will stay in the greenhouse. And then this is the week number when we're going to plant it out into the field. I've made multiple rows because lettuce will be planting in the field on week 19, week 21, week 23, week 25, and so forth. And with arugula, we'll also be seeding in the field every 2 weeks. So here is our seeds needed cell, and we'll write equals if, open parentheses, we want to see if it's a direct seeded crop, G5 is greater than 0, comma, and if that's right, the answer would be the bed feet times the rows per bed times the seeds per foot, comma. If the answer is wrong, then we'll ask another question. If, open parentheses, F2, which is the spacing, is greater than 0, that would indicate it's a transplanted crop, comma, In that case, it'll be the number of cells per tray times the number of trays times the number of seeds per cell, comma. And if the answer is still false, in that case, we'll write quotation marks, missing, info, quotation marks. Close parentheses, enter. And there's our answer, 600 seeds. We'll drag this down, and we see an answer for each row. Now, the number of seeds needed is really useful to put together a seed order. Here is the beginning of a seed order, where we can see the total number of seeds that we need for each variety. We'll use a sum-if formula to figure out how many seeds we need. Equals sum-if, open parentheses. We'll select column B, comma, and then we'll choose what variety we want to find within column B, which is red oak in this case, comma, and then, depending on the criteria, we'll add up the seeds needed, close parentheses. So we need 3,600 red oak leaf seeds. Let's drag this down. We also need 90,000 arugula seeds. Now, all we got to do is go to the seed catalog and order those seeds. And that was the if formula. If you want to get weekly farmer spreadsheet tips, then subscribe to this channel. See you next week. Happy farming.